Peace and love, kings, queens, and gods. My name is Jared, the Floating Yogi, and it is Floating Yoga Fundamentals, the book club. We are reading The Only Way Out Is In. It's an awesome book. We're in like the 9th chapter talking about Prana, Tejas, and Ojas. But before we get started with that, I'm going to talk about some of the sponsors. Some of the sponsors, nope, wrong side. Boo! That way, Urban Yogic Wellness and Education, UE, redefining how we see health and wellness in the community and providing affordable ways to improve our health and well-being. What else is there? There's also Surreal Audio Solutions, DJ Thrill, providing the sounds that you hear in the background. You can also download the track on all streaming platforms, as well as Born to Fly Gym. Again, with the fitness, with the health and wellness, with the motivation. Check out his gym. He has boot camp classes available. We'll just be hitting. So, as far as that, we have the book club here, Floating Yoga Fundamentals, on Monday night. Tuesday, we get to flow it out with Ashtanga, what I practice. We'll get a little bit into Ashtanga tonight. I'm excited to be able to share some of the stuff about why I practice it. However, tomorrow we'll get to flow it out and actually experience and piece these things together. Then there's Thursday, the midday meditations, where we have a discussion, breathwork, meditation, and then, clear out that mind space so we're a little bit more balanced moving forward. Then Saturday, we mix it all together. The Float and Flow is back. Yes, there was a couple weeks we were sharing with the community for a couple weeks, but we're back. We're back now, and 10:30. Jump in, all these things that we talk about, all these things that we work on, we're just going to mesh it together and grow from there. Oh, also, there's one more in-person session, which is the 420 friendly Sift and Flow at the UE Center. Sign up on the website, thefloatingyogi.com. Alright, that's all the announcements I got for the moment. Into the book. So we're on page 115, page 115, chapter 9, Pranas, Tejas, and Ojas. Pranas, Tejas, and Ojas. The end product that is created from a healthy set of dhatus being fully nourished is called Ojas. The dhatus are the 7 different tissues that we were speaking about in the last section, and when they're fully nourished, they create this Ojas substance. And it says it's your body's true essence. Tejas and pranas are the essential part of this dynamic trio. Ojas is typically the only one spoken of, but the other 2 are key as well. Ojas is your creative juice. It fuels your latent artistic within to create whatever you choose, whatever that be a conscious business venture, art, music, spiritual quest, or even parenting, gardening, whatever your heart desires. Let's look at the bigger picture of how Ojas works in conjunction with Tejas and Pranas. Without Tejas or Pranas, Ojas is immobile. Pranas is the movement of Ojas, and Tejas is the effulgent light of it. Effulgent light of it. Yeah, that sounds like a Google. I feel like I haven't heard that one in a while. Oh, that's a fun one. Shining brightly, radiant. I ain't want to misquote. So Tejas is the shining bright light of the movement from Ojas. These 3 energies are actually Vata, Pitta, and Kapha refined. Prana is refined Vata, Tejas is refined Pitta, and Ojas is refined Kapha. Transforming Vata, Pitta, and Kapha into their essence is achieved by spiritual disciplines and life practices that support being more conscious. And I feel like that is like finding your basis in something. If you know that you're, like myself, I know that I focus well when there's a lot for me to focus on. I can handle a lot of bouncing back and forth and still staying like focused through it. So I just cram a bunch on the plate. And I've learned to cram less on the plate, so I have and incrementally add to the plate to balance out that, let me have too much stuff. Like, no, I'm good here. I can do a whole bunch of stuff, but let me double check what's on the plate. I ain't eat that yet. That didn't grow. That didn't do what I I wanted to. All right, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna stay here and grow. So if you're like a more Pitta person, maybe that is taking a step back. If you're a more Kapha person, maybe that is knowing that, maybe that's having everything set up and prepared so you don't have to actually exert as much effort when that time comes. Let's see. Let's look at the bigger picture of how Ojas works in conjunction with blah, 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 blah. I did that one. When you increase Vata, Pitta, and Kapha imbalance, or Vikriti is created, in order to transform it into Ojas, Tejas, and Prana must first make sure the VPK, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, they just start summarizing it. VPK is balanced according to your Prakriti. Then you can transmute it into its true essence. And so that's saying like knowing your, I know that I'm a Vata, I know that I'm a Kapha, I know that I'm a Pitta, and making that type of transmutation that I was speaking of earlier. If not, then the body has to expend a tremendous amount of energy constantly working to bring it back into equilibrium. With strong Ojas, your immune system becomes strong and you develop radiant aura surrounding you. It is a subtle form of attraction that we feel towards people. People with bright auras have high Ojas, Tejas, and Prana. You feel drawn to their company because people with low OTP, they start summarizing it. People with low OTP have a dim aura and a draining effect around them. Your natural response is to avoid hanging out with them. If you're sensitive enough, you can see auras. In all the pictures, you see Christ or Buddha with a golden halo surrounding their head, which is symbolic of their aura. Their Ojas, Tejas, and Prana are radiant from living a spirit-filled life. Let me give you an example of OTP using an analogy of a campfire. The wood that fuels the flame is Ojas. The radiance of the flame is Tejas. And the wind that fans the flame, making it brighter, is Prana. It's a nice way to break it down, simple enough. They all work in harmony together. If you have one without the other, if you have one without the other, the fire cannot exist. The body is a living miracle. If you give it whatever it needs to and get out of the way, it knows what to do. Provide it with little or no blockages in nourishment and nourish it with vital essential nutrients, and it will reward you with radiant health. With strong Ojas, your breath is sweet, the body is pleasant smell, voice is melodic, and you feel centered and grounded. Your immune response is efficient and your flesh is full, not fat. An interesting sign of good Ojas is a firm, full, well-rounded butt, as opposed to a meat ass or a fat ass. A meat ass. So he got like, if you have the book, I encourage you to get the book. If you don't have the book, he's got some funny analogies in here, breaking down like Ojas. Okay. Anyway, I digress. People with low Ojas have little or no buttocks. And actually, if the cheeks on your face are sunken, this is also a sign of low Ojas. With strong Tejas, your skin glows. Your eyes glimmer, you feel more passion in your life, your intuition and perception is heightened, and your intellect and your speech are sharper. You're clear as the fire burning bright, causing a strong, piercing, radiant heat likened to the purification of gold. When you have a lot of Tejas, you become more courageous, adventurous, and fearless. You are able to transform things in your life. With clear vision, you begin to see what's good for you because you have more clarity. You have appropriate choices as they show up in the moment as a response and not a reaction. With nourished prana, you have more enthusiasm, creativity, and inspiration. You move with grace and ease. Without properly nourished ojas, there will be no juice for pranas or tejas, thus no enthusiasm or clear perception. Prana is the life force within that gives you energy. When you practice yoga and meditation and live a balanced lifestyle, more prana naturally floods in. You can then express its myriad of forms in your heart's desire. With an abundant ojas, tejas, and pranas, you live much more fuller without feeling obligated or depleted. It is overflowing joy. Then, let's see, let me get a little sip of this here agua. Wet the palate. If you're joining us on YouTube, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're reading The Only Way Out is In. You can tap into the Zoom room and be a part of the discussion on the floatingyogi.com. Alright, next part. Kapha versus Ojas. There's a bit of confusion amongst the Ayurvedic yogic community who have studied Ayurveda, but have not grasped the distinction between Kapha and Ojas. Understandably, since the qualities of Kapha can resemble Ojas. If you have a solid yoga practice and are living balanced life according to your Prakriti, you will experience more Ojas. Your memory improves and you experience more love and compassion, patience, confidence, stamina, and endurance. All the positive qualities you associate with a balanced Kapha. Your immune system is strengthened, which means you're not getting sick anymore. Strongly tap in on that one. Oh, consistent practice, goodness gracious. Once you get those initial toxins out, then you start knowing and tapping into the flow of, oh, I just don't feel great in this moment. I'm moving, I'm shifting over here, and that's flushing out of my sinuses, which is why I'm sneezing a lot more, or why I have more mucus, or my eyes have this little eye boogers in the morning, and whatnot. I digress. Why I bring this out is because individuals tell me they are Kapha Prakriti, when in fact they just have increased their Ojas due to the practice of meditation and yoga. Anyone can cultivate more Ojas, but you cannot change your constitution no matter how hard you try, as it stays the same throughout your life. This is why confusing Vata, Pitta, and Kapha are constantly changing in our life. Just remember this simple rule. Increased VPK is not beneficial. Increased Oja, Tamas, Tejas, and Pranas is. That's because it's not, I get that. That's like, it's not the individual coming out of balance. Because the concept of the doshas are, Vata, Pitta, Kapha is like, I have this one more out of balance than the others. So then once we went into the Sattvic, we were talking about Sattvic, Tamas, and Rajas, we were able to break it down a little bit more, talking about the individual states of each one. So this one breaks it apart and says when these are whole and these are like balanced in themselves, you can then start to increase the unit as opposed to creating an imbalance. Right? Increase the productivity of the system as opposed to just the imbalance of one. Like, I'm going to give it more gas. All right, well, let's do this balanced. So, okay, I could, if you're following along with the distinction there. All right. Things that diminish Ojas. Decrease Ojas, Tejas, and Pranas. Things that diminish Ojas, Tejas, and Pranas are unconscious lifestyle, which includes stress, losing too much shakura, which during sex, overworking, excess travel, eating, talking, or overdoing anything, which is high vata. Have you noticed in yourself or in others that reaching an age of 30 is a pivotal point in your health and well-being? You are given a certain amount of Ojas at birth, and then when you are not replenishing it through the years around 30 or so, you will begin to feel the adverse effects of aging. We must replenish our Ojas in a constant daily basis. Otherwise, at some point, our immune system funds go bankrupt. A depleted immune system can show up as allergies, being susceptible to cold and flu viruses, chronic fatigue syndrome, yeast infections, numerous digestive disorders, being overweight, low back pain, stiffness, even to the extent of severe imbalances such as cancer, heart disease, or AIDS. Immunity. Immunity is based on the simple fact that the body is able to fight off a disease on its own. It's all in how we look at the germs, bacteria, or viruses. Bad bacteria and good bacteria are flourishing simultaneously inside and all around us. The Western model is kill them no matter what. And this is what happens when taking antibiotics. It indiscriminately kills good and bad. This weakens the inherent strength of your immune system. There may be a time and place for taking antibiotics, such as life-threatening situations, but for the most part in the West, people are popping these drugs like candy. Western medical doctors are dispersing them like it's Halloween, and the real trick-or-treat is overuse of these antibiotics is unnecessary. We would need to do our own support. Support our own natural immunity from within, building probiotics, pro-life agents, and those are Like, I mean, come on, that's the whole practice. Just join us. Just join us on. Oh snap! No. Just join us on. What day is that? There we go. Just join us tomorrow. We're gonna get it rocking. Oh, and Halloween. You know we're doing the Halloween shenanigans. It's still here for you. And there's a couple rooms available too, or camp space. Ooh, shenanigans. Okay. There is a crazy factoid. We have more bacteria living inside us than we do cells. Yeah, we're actually made up of like between 50 and 60% bacteria. There's more bacteria in our body than there is human cells. So, you know, we just gotta learn to get along with other things. It just be little simple things like that. This means the ratio of good to bad bacteria must be in balance. The following things will increase bad bacteria: cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, pollutants in the air, water in the soil, too much sugar or refined food products, canned, irritated, or processed foods, and negative emotions such as anger, excess anger, fear, and greed. Yeah, you gotta get them out. Get it out on the mat. You go to boxing. You can hit punching bag. Go for a run. Whatever you gotta do. There's so many ways. All of these will weaken your immunity because it's so much based on our health. And let me pause here. So it's important. One reason that this practice helps to build up immunity, I feel, and ain't no scientific facts on this. This is just what I feel from my experience. Is if it's so based on the mind and how we see and perceive things. Every day in my practice, I'm challenging myself and proving to myself that I can do something that I didn't think that I could, and it could be something little like, oh, I don't think I have the shoulder strength. Oh, I can. Or I don't think I can get into the, oh, well, my foot's not going to get back. All right, it did get a little smoother. My chest is, oh, all right, it does lift up. And those little ways just show me how I, myself, outside of just this body and just this mind, is stronger than these other situations that come around. So that could just transmit into the subconscious and into the immune system like, nah, I got this. You're not going to catch me slipping. So when good bacteria is flourishing, it keeps the bad bacteria in check. Thus, we will have a healthy immune response to whatever comes from the outside. Keeping a good count of bacteria up versus a bad one is our main objectives to maintaining vibrant health. Taking probiotics such as Acetophilus and Bifidus is one way to maintain equilibrium in the GI tract. Keep in mind that you want to maintain balance of bacteria throughout the whole body: skin, mouth, blood, through the Ayurvedic lifestyle. Some of these ways to maintain that delicate balance would be cooking your own foods that's appropriate for your prakriti. Yeah, you're cooking foods appropriate to how you move, how you live. Yes, how you think, because that's one way that we digest information. The brain, stomach, similar concepts. Practicing asana regularly in a manner consistent to your prakriti, as well as getting plenty of rest. Come on, join us tomorrow, Tuesday at 6. And ample activity. Look at animals and how they live in harmony with nature. You don't see animals running to the doctor or spraying this on to kill the germs around them. They keep a good immune system from the inside out, not from cleaning or under cleaning. Not for over or under cleaning. For example, let's compare two opposite extremes, America and India. America is obsessed with cleanliness to the point of sterility. On the other hand, India is lackadaisical. It is normal to see waste of all kinds, shit in the streets. In America, our immune systems are weak and dependent on chemicals and drugs. In India, their systems are hyperactive and overfunctioning due to an abundance of microorganisms everywhere. That's why I tell people to prepare their immune systems well before going to India, because you're going from sterile environment to a thriving petri dish. One is neither better than the other, but both extremes as both extremes weaken the body one is neither better than the other, as both extremes weaken the body and are unhealthy. Spiritual practices build the energies of Ojas, Tejas, and Pranas. Stick with your practice long enough and you'll go beyond Vata, Pitta, Kapha, the grossest forms of this energy available to us. Until we wake up, we will remain living in mundane animal life from this cradle to the grave. The alchemical ability to transform the gross physical matter, the gross physical energy of your animalistic nature to that of Buddha and awakened one is available if you want to. And if you're joining us, welcome, welcome. We're reading The Only Way Out is In, and we just got to chapter 10, Cleansing and Rejuvenation. Yeah, we might just tap into Ashtanga Yoga, because it's not that far. It's just a few pages. Yeah, we're going to get into it. We're going to flow with it. Okay. Cleansing and rejuvenation. Ayurveda can identify the dis-ease process in the early stages before it manifests into a chronic problem. There are signs and symptoms early on that are signals to pay attention to, as if there's a little guy on your shoulder reminding you to be aware of those constant nagging pains, and if you ignore them, you'll be flat on your back wondering what hit you. If you only had listened, the long road back to recovery could have been avoided. There is an old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I love it. Facts. I'll say it again. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Or, for you metric people, a gram of prevention is worth a kilo of cure. That was comical. An example of how Ayurveda uses diagnostic tools to help in catching something before it becomes chronic is looking at the quality of the nails on your fingers, your toes. If they're healthy, they will have a rich pink color and are strong and grow straight with no lines or spots on them. If they're broken, pale, or have serrated lines and white spots, then there's a deficiency of minerals or other elements within the diet. The fingers represent an acute problem, and the toes express long-term chronic problems. There are other methods as well. Reflexology of the hands and feet and ears can tell what's happening energetically in every organ and tissue. Another good one, they also have another one for the tongue, and that gives us a good idea of what's happening inside the body, like the torso, all, But the way I started feeling it and getting the correlation was I'd curl like a certain part of my tongue in, and it like pinch in, and then I'd feel it like in my core somewhere. And I was like, hold on. I'd like flatten it out or like make my tongue real fat, and then it would flatten out. And I was like, hold on. If it's that connected, then I can definitely see other similarities. Because the reflexology in the hands and feet, good God, if you don't get it done, you can just do it yourself, get a massage gun and make it happen. Just go to town. Okay, I'll continue. By simply pushing a point on your foot, you can tell if an organ is congested or not. Two other mirrors are your tongue, coated or not, or the iris of your eyes, which may have been shaved or discolored areas, indicating the condition of shaded or discolored areas, indicating the condition of all internal organs. Many signposts are being provided all of the time, if you are open and aware to read them. If you need to cleanse because there are signs of ama, those toxins we were talking about, then Ayurveda recommends a Panchakarma, which is a cleansing detoxification program with rejuvenation at the end to build healthy tissue. This process helps to eliminate ama early on before it manifests into a full-blown dis-ease. There will be an accumulation of Kapha after winter, Pitta after summer, and Vata after fall. Facts, facts, and facts. We call it seasonal depression, but in different ways. Or we call it, hot girl summer, or something like that. And what's the other one? I don't know, I just love fall. It's just my jam. It is what it is. I'm excited to get the Cardi's rocking. Cardi's rocking and popping. Alright. That's when the doshas have accumulated during their respective seasons. Many people are unaware of how to fast and cleanse properly. Yeah, I know a lot of people just jumping into the fasting and the diets, and it's like, all right, we'll create a rhythm or a system or a reason outside of just like, I'm gonna do this one time. Okay. Okay, we're kind of defeating the purpose here, but let's see how it plays out. Let's see. Ayurveda states it's best to perform Panchakarma in the junction of the seasons. If it's not possible, at least do once a year spring cleaning. After this, you must nourish the tissues and organs you've cleared by introducing foods and herbs that build. If you try to feed a weak, clogged organ, it will not absorb the nutrients. It's not just cleansing that your body needs, it's cleansing and rejuvenation. Another misunderstood concept is fasting too long or cleansing too much. If you do, your body will feed off healthy tissue and organs, thus debilitating you. A general rule is a Kapha person can fast as long as 5 to 7 days, a Pitta person as long as 3 to 5 days, and a Vata maybe 1 or 2 days. Each individual needs to take into account many factors before considering a fast or before doing a Panchakarma. Consult a qualified practitioner for personally prescribed programs. Once I fasted for 21 days before I knew anything about Ayurveda. Pretty crazy for a Vata person, but oh well, learned this lesson the hard way. I have not done a 21-day fast. No. It's a no for me, dog. Hard pass. Let's see. Panchakarma can be described as 5 cleansing method that purges the systems of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha when needed. There is a Purvakarma cleansing, pre-cleansing therapy or a ripening process that occurs before the actual Panchakarma is administered. Most people mistake Ayurvedic massage to be a Panchakarma when in fact that's just only the beginning step. The Purvakarma goes as follows. You're given a deep oil massage using the abundant amount of medicated oils to prepare the dosha for evacuation. This is done in succession of 7 to 10 days in a row. After the thorough massage, you are put in a sweat box, which you lie down and your head sticking out. Then herbs are steamed up through the slats at the bottom of the box. This begins the ripening of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha over the next 7 to 10 days. You're also eating a diet of simple foods called khichdi, which is a rice and mung dal preparation with ghee, clarified butter. Each individual response to the treatment is different as to when the dosha is fully ripened and ready for removal via one of the 5 cleansing actions or panchakarmas. The Ayurvedic doctor or qualified practitioner will know when your doshas are ripe by your pulse reading, which is an art form in itself. Various signs and symptoms will indicate when it's time to perform one or more of the 5 Panchakarma techniques. So ghee is interesting because in the practice, the joints can be like a little, and to create a little bit more lubricant for some of the movements, as you get a little bit deeper into the practice, the ghee or the butter, like the oily foods and things, help to lubricate the joints. So they recommend it. I think he talks about it in this book, but we'll see if we get there. Well, if we'll see if we get there. I was right the first time. The specific panchakarmas are basti, therapeutic enema for removal of vata from the colon, virshanta, herbal purgative for removal of pitta from the small intestines, and vamana, therapeutic vomiting for kapha via the stomach. Remember me telling you the main sites or homes of Vata, Pitta, Kapha are the colon, Vata, small intestines, Pitta, and stomach, Kapha. The ripening of VPK happens by the combination of the diet, massage, and sweat box over the 7 to 10 consecutive days. Slowly, VPK gets pulled away through the deeper tissue into the GI tract, where it is then released through one of the 3 main methods above. The remaining 2 are called Nasti and Rakta Moksha. Nasya is nasal administration in medicinal herbs and powders for the brain and nervous system, good for better concentration and elimination of toxins in the brain. Raktamosha is the cleansing of the blood by using leeches. They are used in select sites on the body where blood stagnates and is accumulated, creating ulcers on the skin. Rasyana is the rejuvenation therapy that aims at promoting strength and vitality, thus increasing immunity and longevity. Rasyana enhances Ojas. Rasyana is the next step of the whole process of Panchakarma. It is the essential ingredient that is overlooked in most methods of cleansing. The rejuvenation or Rasyana phase is even more important than the cleansing part, for it is when the body is fed nourishing ingredients for various cells, organs, and tissues. Many highly evolved herbal combinations that take weeks to make are given at this stage. There are some available in the West, but most are banned from entering Western countries via India. You can, however, use some simple yet powerful foods and herbs as a replacement. Some of these superfoods are blue-green algae from the Kalamath Lake in Oregon, a rich natural wild source of vitamin, minerals, proteins, essential fatty acids, antioxidants, and it is considered the most nutrient-dense food on the planet. I rock with sea moss too. Not too. I'm open to try that. I don't know how to finesse it in like a smoothie. So however, like some meal or something. If you have an idea, drop it in the comments. Let me know. I'm with the shits. Let's see. I mentioned earlier on how it nourishes the blood, and the qualities are similar to a blood transfusion. It's tridosha, which means it serves all three doshas. Some more Rasyana on my list are Triphala, which is the 3 dried fruits, and they're made into powders with an amazing nutrient density. You can take this to cleanse and rejuvenate the body. This is used as a regular addition to anyone's regimen in keeping everything in the body working smoothly, especially digestive orders like constipation, bloating, gas, removal of undesirable fat. A few more are various ginsengs, satvari for ladies, ashwagandha for men, saffron, bee pollen, aloe vera, nani, almond milk, cow's milk, ghee, dates, figs. It's a list. And I encourage you to like Google and see where. I'm sure Google has a whole bunch of them, or like DuckDuckGo or whatever search engine you use. Another favorite in the Ayurvedic toolbox is Chawana Prash. It is an Ayurvedic jelly containing 25 to 80 herbs plus the alama fruit, Indian gooseberry. The alamaki is the main ingredient. Alamaki contains 300 milligrams of vitamin C plus bioflavonoids, antioxidants, B complex, carotenoids. I haven't heard of those before. Oh, that's what those are connected to. Okay, I'll get back to them later. It boosts digestion, increases muscle mass, lowers blood pressure and blood cholesterol, and enhances healing of tissue. It is available in most Indian grocery stores, online, or in your favorite health stores. Other key factors for creating a Rasyana effect are plenty of sunshine, rest, along with everything else he's mentioned throughout this section on being nourished and balanced for who you are. Music, colors, scents, gym therapy, Vedic astrology, chanting, singing, whatever you love that's uplifting. Daily self-massage helps to pacify high vata. You can use same sesame oil for vata, coconut for pitta, and corn sesame for kapha. Also, remember to take into consideration age, season, geography, and the work you do, and so on. So clearly, it's an all-inclusive type of situation. That's really why I like Ayurveda. It's like, now we're going to take into effect everything that makes you you, and then from there, find ways to make you just your state of well-being a little bit better. I can rock with that. I can find growth from there. Conclusion. Yeah. Ayurveda, as you've seen, is the language of nature, the language of life and living. Its principles guide us to live in harmony with the greater universe, thus providing the answer for not only healing the individual but the entire planet. There are so many examples of each type of mind quality, but there are no set rules to live by. There are tendencies we need to be aware of to create balance. Be natural and playful with the intention of this truly holistic science into your everyday living. The degree which your awareness grows will turn and match with the flow that you have with nature. Since yoga is the sister science of Ayurveda, our next step is to explore the mysterious world. You now have the golden key. This is your invitation to unlock the door to its magical, mystical adventure within. And I'm going to drink to that. Okay, so this page, Prim has some rules. Let me see if I want to read this. Let me see how it goes. Because the next one is part 3, and it's Ashtanga Yoga, and hell yeah, I'm reading that. Alright, let's see. Yeah, I'll read this. It shows us humanity. I'm with it. Prim's rules. As you have probably already guessed, I have no rules that I live by in regards to sex, ganja, coffee, alcohol, food, sleep, or other lifestyle choices. I live by the guidelines laid out by these systems of yoga, Ayurveda, and Tantra. As a reference, yet I have my own internal parameter to gauge whether something works or not. My main criteria is if something takes me in or out. That is, if I'm feeling clear, at ease, present, joyful, playful, I know I'm on the right track. If I feel tight inside, heavy, confused, spaced out, serious, depressed, or during or after, I know I'm off. I'm no longer afraid of anything in life, for it's not the outside thing the outside thing to be aware of. It's the internal reaction to it. For everything on this planet to me is considered divine. So I advise you to do the same. Don't take all this spiritual stuff so seriously and box yourself in with a lot of unnecessary rules and regulations. Yes, of course, be sincere with your pursuit of the truth and check out what others recommend, but live free in conscious self-referral. Otherwise, you'll miss out on all the magnificence along the way. Trust your higher self, the voice of your heart. Sometimes it doesn't look or feel so pleasant, and that's all right. It's all relative. Nothing is right or wrong in the eyes of consciousness. Existence is what it is. What you make out of it is what is the most important point. I strongly support those thoughts. I'm glad I read it. Alright, let's see. Since I said let's see, it rhymes with the author of this quote, Rumi, we in. All day I think about it, then at night I say it. Where did it come from? And what am I supposed to be doing? I have no idea. My soul is from elsewhere, I'm sure of that, and I intend to end up there. This drunkenness began in some other tavern. When I get back around to that place, I'll be completely sober. Meanwhile, I'm like a bird from another continent, sitting on its aviary. The day is coming when I fly off, but who is it now in my ear? Whose voice? Who says words without my mouth? Who looks out with my eyes? What is the soul? I cannot stop asking. If I could taste one sip of an answer, I would break out of this prison for drunks. I didn't come here of my own accord, and I can't leave that way. Whoever brought me here will have to take me home. This poetry, I never know what I'm going to say. I don't plan it. When I'm outside of saying it, I get very quiet and rarely speak at all. What is this soul? So part 3, Ashtanga Yoga, the Royal Superhighway, which we practicing tomorrow. So come on, bring that ass tomorrow. Every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, FloatingYogi.com. Let's get it. Rumi so beautifully puts into words our human dilemma, living here on earth. Yoga takes this existential question of what is life all about and puts us on the path to discovering for ourselves what it is, not from our heads but from our hearts. The first premises to begin with is that we will never be able to directly figure it out with our minds. So relax and trust that all will be revealed. Life is a mystery to be lived. A mystic is one who must be courageous enough to venture within. Yoga is the passage into that unknowable. It takes us beyond the limited constructs of our mind and draws us into the vast world of consciousness. There is this feeling of not being quite at home here on earth. Yoga is our ticket back to the place of rest, our true home within. The word yoga means to unite or join together. It's always to unite with the one who looks out from our eyes and ears and hears with our ears. It is a method that guides us carefully along the beaten path of those who have gone before us. 10,000 years of ancient rishis and Ayurveda put together a set of principles to guide us step by step through this maze we call life. Before we begin to look at this pathway, we first need to know what our starting point is. For if we don't know where we are, how can we possibly know where we're going? Come on. Let's start by clarifying a few misconceptions about yoga. I am asked over and over the following questions. What is Hatha Yoga, and what is the difference between Ashtanga Yoga and Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga? Let's start with the first one. Hatha Yoga is a term generally used to define all the physical postures oriented forms of yoga that are currently out there, such as Iyengar, Bikram, Svagandhi, Kripola, Kundalini, Power Yoga, Ashtanga, Vinyasa Yoga. The list grows daily. Rocket Yoga, so the list grows daily. Facts. Most of these styles, most of these styles are more recent forms of the yoga practice in the late 1800s, except Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga, which is said to be the oldest living form. The classes called Hatha Yoga are typically gentle stretching and breathing, of which Sivananda and Kripalu are examples. There is a wide spectrum of styles to choose from dynamic, intense to gentle, calming. The most dynamic form is Ashtanga Yoga. There are styles that are offshoots of Ashtanga called Power, Hatha, Flow, Vinyasa. Bikram and Kundalini are examples of the dynamic styles. Iyengar is somewhere in between with a particular focus on alignment. There was a definitive text written in the 15th century about Hatha Yoga called Hatha Yoga Pradipika. There we go. Hatha Yoga Pradipika. By the yogi named Swatmarama. Around the 17th century, there were two other texts called the Giram Samahita and the Siva Samhita. And just, words we don't really use here in America, sounds we don't really use in America. In the treatise of the Hatha Yoga, it says Hatha Yoga is the stairway to the height of Raja Yoga, of Patanjali, hence the preparation stage of physical purification that renders the body fit for the practices of higher meditation. Swatmarama lists only 16 postures, asanas, and some breathing techniques, pranayamas. Along with this, he goes to describe chakras, nadis, mudras, and bandhas. So if you think about it, a lot of the focus of yoga really isn't on all of these postures. They've been really like a bit of a distraction. We've been focusing so much on the surface as opposed to what's going on inside the body. Because we don't really talk about these aspects. We don't really talk about the doshas. We don't talk about the dhatus. So making those connections aren't possible. Words create the reality in which we perceive. As we create more terms and power the brain to see things in reality differently, then we're able to make different connections and grow from there. Alright. In the Gurnan Samahita, a yogi named Gurman focuses on a cleansing regime called the karmas for the six cleansing practices, which are particular to Panchakarma in Ayurveda and detoxifying effect of the mind and body. The Siva Samhita, an unknown author, talks about 84 different asanas, only 4 of which are described in detail, and also details with abstract yogic philosophy, mudras, tantric practices, and meditations. These 3 texts are considered to be the basis of many styles of Hatha Yoga asana practice. The word Hatha is divided into 2 parts. Ha, which is sun and represents the male principle of outgoing energy, fiery, dynamic, and yang. Tha means moon and represents the feminine principle of ingoing energy, cooling, water, earth, passive, yin. Hatha yoga thus means the method for uniting and balancing the inherent male and female energies within each of us. As in Ayurveda, these ancient practices were developed by the rishis in remote jungle hermitages or high mountain caves. The Ashtanga Yoga method is said to have its origin in the ancient text of the Vahama Rishi called the Yoga Karunda, which is Krishnamacharya received from his guru and through his guru Rama Moha Brahmacharya at the Mount Kailash in Tibet. Krishnamacharya later passed on his Hatha Yoga system to Pattabhi Jois, who is the teacher or guru of the older writer of this book, Anthony Prem Carlisi. The only way out is in, get it? He said, I have no idea how accurate this information is since I've never seen the evidence with his own eyes of these very old manuscripts that were supposedly written on palm or banana leaves. I've heard numerous texts that were written in a way and still exist in Indian archives. But the Yoga Karanta was apparently eaten by ants, so there's no proof to back these stories. It can only be repeated and heard over years, which is why I feel like this practice is like the living legacy, the living experience for it. It is living because it does change, especially if you're in different areas. I feel as though if this isn't how it's done, but this is how I see it myself. Hey, maybe I'm making a change now. Different areas based on how you move, how like the culture's set up. You have different ailments. Maybe your hips aren't open because you're not in India waiting for the bus sitting in Malasana just chilling, because that's not a yoga pose, it's just a way to sit. But in America, it's, oh, you're doing Malasana. So maybe it's those type of shifts. Hold on. And you can shift the practice to better accommodate people who sit in a chair all day and aren't able to fold. Maybe you start with back bend so they can feel that relief as they fold forward and then go into it. It has to be something to make them want to actually explore it. Maybe it's side body stretches that feel great for them and get them to fold a little bit more forward. Maybe it's someone who doesn't use their legs, start walking a little bit more. It can be little things that add it in, not just yoga. Yoga is the union, whatever it is that you're doing. But these are just some asanas, some poses and movements that you can do to give yourself a good gauge of how you're feeling, to create that basis, that foundation of what's happening. Krishnamacharya taught many of the major yoga teachers of the 20th century, along with his son TKV Deskachar and BKS Iyengar. His teachings make up the 3 most popular yoga asanas in the planet and have a huge influence on modern yoga today. Pattabhi Jois, or Guruji as he calls him, says that the Yoga Karunta is based on the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Patanjali wrote his commentary on yoga some 2,500 years ago. Patanjali's yoga is called Raja Yoga, or the royal way. I imagine Vamasha Rishi, who wrote the Yoga Karunta, was commenting on the Yoga Sutras, as does the Hatha Yoga. To top it all off, Guruji has written a book called Yogamala. his commentary on the Yoga Kurunta and his own experience of practicing for many years. India is shrouded with a lot of myth and mystery, as are the mystic traditions. So I have no idea what's accurate and what's not. My judge and jury has always been see if what's being said resonates or not. And I strongly rock with that. Like, if what's being said does resonate, keep rocking with it, keep riding with it, see how it's going. Keep flowing. But if it don't, then cut that shit off. Keep moving with your life. Find something that does work for you. Maybe a lot of times, from myself and from my experience, it's not always the message that the issue is, it's the messenger. So maybe that wasn't the right time for you. Believe nothing, no matter where you read it or who said it, no matter if I've said it, unless it agrees with your own reason and your own common sense. Buddha. I'm not Buddha, but Buddha said that. Allegedly. So before you pass judgment on something, test it out with your own experience. Don't just act on blind faith until you are perceptive enough to understand it for yourself. Trust without some sort of verification borders on the ridiculous. It's important for you to know that spiritual texts are filled with conjecture and hearsay. As you can see, within just this lineage, there are many translations and commentaries of the ancient Vedas. Keep in mind that anything written or spoken is relevant for that person at that particular time. This goes back to how I was saying the Ashtanga could be different for here in America. I feel it is, because the people that I've encountered, their bodies move differently than people from Asia, from India, from the UK. It's very different. So I feel like the Ashtanga should be shifted as well. You know the game of telephone tag where you get in a circle with 50 people and then one person tells it to the next, the person that's secret, and the person then passes the message to the next, and all the way around until it's back to the person that started it. The message is always completely different than how it began. Facts on facts. And the more people there are, the more convoluted the message becomes. Can you imagine how many times information gets twisted around in 10,000 years? Any book, Bible, Quran, Yoga Sutras, all have hundreds of translations and commentaries passed on through the ages. So we must be realistic in our acceptance of these texts as the gospel truth. There are a lot of people looking for like truth, something to see as fact and just go with and run with. And I strongly support like what he said here and what he said earlier. Don't agree with it unless it resonates with you. And then on his rules, create your own internal barometer, but use these as guidelines to verify and create that actual barometer. And even all these texts are just rewritten. Come on, they're republished, and another person owns it and they make money off it. Like, let's be real here. Only from personal experience can we walk away with an authentic expression of this or any tradition and be able to pass it on. All I know for sure is, on my own experience of the practice of Ashtanga Yoga has been from here on that rewind. All I know for sure is what my own experience of the practice of Ashtanga Yoga has been, and from here on, that is what I will write about. After all, Guruji has called his institute in Mysore AYRI, which stands for Ashtanga Yoga Research Institute. The word research stands out to me since this word means ongoing. It's not just the dead past being conveyed to us. We're all participating in research scientists of an ongoing yoga tradition. I like that expression as well, because it is an ongoing thing. My practice changes daily. Sometimes I don't have the time to do my entire practice. Sometimes I don't have the energy to do my entire practice. Sometimes my body's just not in the space for it, so I'll modify it. Maybe it's a primary day. Maybe it's a second day. Maybe it's let me test the waters because I'm feeling funky, and try third. And realize, ego check. So it's all in how you're going, how you're feeling in the moment. Finding that balance between sattva, rajas, and tamas, that vata, pitta, kapha, and utilizing that balance towards, in that clarity, towards whatever your mission is, whatever your goal is. And I like the fact they say it's a research, because that's how I feel when I'm on the mat. I'm in there, I'm like, my shoulder's not, why is it, this isn't even, let me find out the level. Okay, alright, I see what's happening here. And down dog. Anyway. Now, as long as we have our minds that filter and interpret ideas, as long as we have minds that filter and interpret, ideas are going to get distorted. And we must be careful what we say. It's amazing to me that anything gets communicated with the way the mind works with just simple things, let alone more complex ideas like yoga. Any distraction of yoga must come from your own experience. Any discussion of yoga must come from your own experience. Pause. Facts. Yo. Tired of people telling me about shit that they read or their friends said. What is your experience with it? Where's your practice? Where's your consistency? Let's grow with it. Even if it was a while ago, except it's moving forward, like, come on, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the growing, the living, the research of it. Otherwise, you're just repeating something someone else said and it might not be accurate. This is why rishis had the authority to speak on these topics, since they had access to all the life through their divine insight. The problem lies in us being mere mortals, and reading the text with our own spin on them. The rishis were aware of our dilemma, hence most of them kept quiet, since anything they said would have been misinterpreted anyway. The ones who chose to speak made their message always check it out for yourself, go within and see if what I'm speaking is true. They knew if they simply gave us the answer, it would not be clear unless we verified it for ourselves. And I strongly believe on that. That's why I don't try to really convince people to come. You want to come, you want to come. You're here, let's grow when you're here, and I see you when you get back. But the whole convincing thing, it has to come from that desire, that want to grow, to be better yourself. And it has to be that decision, because then we're bringing in all of those energies, not just I want to do it for a once off. It's like that build up, and you can really see it. You can see it in your skin, in your you can see it in your skin. You can see it in your glow, how you walk, the way your movements. So tomorrow we getting into it. So let's see, Ashtanga Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. We're gonna read that one. Because the last one is the 8 limbs of Ashtanga. That's when we get into like the yamas, the niyamas. So that's going to be next week. I might just finish and then we could just, it's only 1, 2. Nah, it's gone on long enough. Ha ha ha. It is till 7. Well, we're already late. It is what it is. But I encourage you to, we'll tackle the rest of that, and we'll have a little discussion as well next week, Monday, about Ashtanga Yoga. If you're interested, you can join the class tomorrow. The link is on my website, thefloatingyogi.com. Check out the schedule. Monday night is the book club. Tuesday is Land Half Primary. We're getting flowing. And when Thursday is midday meditations. Midday mind right. We're going to meditate. We're going to sound bath, breath work, a little discussion, something to grow from. And then Saturday we're going to mix it all together. We're back. The flow is popping at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. It'd be great to grow with you. Oh, and I forgot, last one, in person, because this one just started. In person, elevated sift and flow, and that is Sundays. Check out my website, thefloatingyogi.com. Again, thanks for the sponsors for the production of this. UE Urban Yogic Wellness and Education, redefining how we see health and wellness in the community and making it affordable as well. So check out the website, check out some of the missions that we're doing. Donations are appreciated. It's how we can continue to offer this. And if you have any questions, comments, want to work on something, want a little bit more information, send me an email, info@thefloatingyogi.com. If you're looking to book, support@UEDC. It was great vibing with you. Peace and love, kings, queens, and gods.